African continent has 54 countries. Africa is a continent with a vast territorial extension made up of 54 countries. And in this immensity of the continent, many of its countries have some peculiar names, many of which originate from the local languages themselves, while the others were given by the colonists. It should be noted here that some of the territories that we know today as isolated countries were previously part of some kingdoms that occupied vast territorial dimensions. This is the case, for example, of the Kingdom of Congo, which occupied countries such as Angola, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Gabon. The borders we know today were imposed by Europe through the division made in Berlin, which brought about this new geographical division that limited the connection of people in many aspects. In this article, we will learn about the names of some African countries and the respective etymological origin of the name. Lesotho. Lesotho is a name that derives from the word Sotho. It is a tribute to the Mosotho or Basotho ethno-linguistic group, officially known as the Kingdom of Lesotho. Previously, it was called the Kingdom of Basutoland. It is a small country in southern Africa, an enclave embedded in South Africa. Mountainous and landlocked, it is one of the most ethnically homogeneous countries in Africa. 99% of its population belongs to the same Basotho ethno-linguistic group. Mali. In the Mandinka or Bambara language, the term Mali itself means hippopotamus. Mali is a name that was inherited from the ancient Mali Empire, and it means hippopotamus in the Mandinka language, which is in itself one of the largest ethno-linguistic groups in West Africa. Mandinka is also a language spoken in Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau. History has it that the Republic of Mali had the first university to exist in the world before the 12th century, and the first great library in the world, not least known in Timbuktu. Mozambique. The name Mozambique would have derived from the name of an Arab merchant who lived there, Musa al-Bik, Mosa al-Bike, or Ben Musa Mbiki. It is said that when making the first arrival in Mozambican lands, the Portuguese called it Lands of Musa ibn Bike, in honor of their ruler. But over the years, as happened in other regions of the world colonized by Lusitanian Europeans, the name of the land began to be simplified to facilitate pronunciation, suffering a corruption from Musa ibn Bike to Mozambique. Malawi. Malawi is a name that derives from the Nyanja language, which means the rising sun. Nyanja, or as it is lovingly referred to in Malawi as Chewa, despite being one of the official languages alongside English, is a language from the Bantu linguistic family spoken in Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. It is from the Chewa or Nyanja language that the name of the rising sun comes from, which in Nyanja means Malawi. Mauritania. Mauritania is a name that derives from the terminology Moors or Moros, which means land. The Moors, or Moros, are people descended from the ancient Kemetics as well as the Berbers, and they mainly come from North Africa. They are known for bringing civilization to Europe during the Middle Ages through the Iberian Peninsula, Sicily, Malta, and France. And it was upon them to invent the first manual firearm. Namibia. From the name of the Namib Desert on the Atlantic coast, Namibe means a region where there is nothing in the Nama language. Niger. According to the name of the Niger River, from the indigenous term or Gir River, or from the Tuareg no Egiren, flowing waters, often misinterpreted, especially by classicists, as derived from the Latin Niger, black, a reference to the skin color of the inhabitants. Nigeria. The name Nigeria was created by fusing the words Niger, referring to the Niger River, and area, English term for area, in contrast to neighboring Niger, which was French colonized. This name was coined at the end of the 19th century by Flora Shaw, who would become the wife of Baron Lugard, a British colonial administrator. Uganda. Uganda is a term that derives from the Swahili language, which is Luganda Buganda. The terminology derived from Luganda Buganda, which means land of Ganda. Buganda is actually a tribute paid to the ancient subnational kingdom that existed in this African region. Sudan. Whether North Sudan or South Sudan, they are countries that bring with them the same meaning. The terminology Sudan means blacks. Previously, this country was known as Nubia. In fact, the meaning of Sudan is intrinsically linked to the meaning of Kemet, which means land of blacks. Sudan is a name taken from the ancient African Coptic language used by the ancient Egyptians and Nubians. In fact, it was in this country where one of the greatest civilizations in the history of humanity existed. The civilization of Egyptian Kush, or Kemet, Quisnia, from the name of Mount Kenya, the second summit of Africa, behind Kilimanjaro. It obtained its current spelling after a series of changes to the name that local tribes gave to the mountains. The Kikuyu call it Kirinyaga, the Embu Kirenya, and the Akamba Kinya, terms that all mean white mountain or shining mountain due to the glaciers visible at the top. Rwanda. Rwanda is a term that derives from the Kinyarwanda language. It is actually a tribute to the Banyarwanda linguistic group. The Banyarwanda are the so-called creators of the nation Rwanda, in which they constitute three subgroups: the Hutus, Tutsis, and the Twa. Kinyarwanda is also one of the official languages of Rwanda, spoken by 12 million people in Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and adjacent parts of southern Uganda. Repubblica Centrafricana. Descriptive name. The country is geographically in the Senti.
São Tomé e Príncipe. São Tomé Island was discovered on São Tomé Day on December 21, 1470 by João de Santarém, and Prince Island was discovered on Santo Antão on January 17, 1471 by Pero Escobar. Príncipe was initially called Santo Antão. It gained its current name in 1502 in reference to the Prince of Portugal, to whom taxes were paid on the island's sugar production. Senegal. The etymology of the name. Senegal has been controversial for several decades. David Boylat, in Senegalese Sketches, 1850, maintains that the word would be a distortion of the Wolof expression Sunugal, which means our Kanoi, Somalia. From the name of the Somalis, the people live. The etymology of its name remains uncertain, but there are two possibilities: that it derives from evil Sak, those who guard the cattle, or from a mythical patriarch called Samaale, Serra Leoa, adapted from Sierra Leone, the Spanish version of Portuguese, Sierra Leone, Lion Mountains. Portuguese explorer Pedro de Sintra named the country after the shape of the mountains he saw in 1462 while sailing along the West African coast. It is not known why the mountains made him think of lions. They could look like a lion's teeth, or sleeping lions, or the thunder that there looked like a lion's roar. Togo. Togo in Ewe or JJ means water. Ewe is a language spoken by the JJ ethno-linguistic group, and it is one of the most representative ethno-linguistic groups existing in this region of the African continent, especially in Ghana and Benin, Tanzania. A mixture of the names of the two ancient states that make up this country, Zanzibar and Zanzibar. Tanganyika is named after the eponymous lake. Sir Richard Burton is the first European to see this lake, and explains that the name derives from an indigenous language, to join, in the sense of where the waters meet. In 1871, Henry Morton Stanley says that the word comes from Tonga, island, and Hika, dish. Both theories are uncertain. Zanzibar, for its part, derives its name from the Zengi, or Zeng, Zinki, a local people whose name means black. This root is combined with the Arabic bar, meaning coast, coast. Zambia. Zambia's name comes from the great Zambezi River. Zambezi comes from the Lunda expression Nzambienzi, which literally means God comes. Kalonga Kanzambi means the river of God. Therefore, some assume Zambia means land gods. Many disagree, saying that the correct writing is Yambeji in Winilunga. That, perhaps it is, that the Zambezi River means Nzambi-Enzi. But if so, then where does the Nzambi? On the other hand, the term Enzi, most rivers there end at Enzi. Zimbabwe. Change from Shona, Zimba, Zimbabwe, meaning stone houses. Zimba is the plural of Imba, house, and Mabwe is the plural of Bwa, stone, in reference to the stone walls of the ancient merchant empire of Great Zimbabwe.